And good evening and welcome to News 360. It's live from our news up here at Desawe. My name is Alfred Akanse.
And I'm Natalie Force. Let's get into the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Emergency National Task Force constituted to provide technical assistance to address armyworm invasion.
Meanwhile, a 16 million cedi budget to fight the crop infestation is to be laid before Cabinet tomorrow, Thursday, May 11.
Also, President Akufo-Addo calls for increase in sale of local goods in shopping malls.
And a more business evening, inflation for April up to 13% from 12.8% in March.
And on the international front, Somalia's President Abdullahi Farmajo promises to defeat al-Shabaab in 2 years.
We'll bring you details of these and more in the next 60 minutes tonight. To our first story this evening, President Akufo-Addo has directed the constitution of an emergency national task force to provide technical assistance to address the armyworm invasion in affected regions. At a news conference in Accra, Director General of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, Nanaije Ajiman Prempeh, disclosed the president has also instructed the Finance Ministry to release money for the purchase of agrochemicals for affected farmers.
Members of the National Task Force are drawn from the Department of Plant Protection and Regulatory Service, Veterinary Service, Crop Research Institute, Forestry Commission, University of Ghana, Food and Research Institute, the Army, and the Police Service. The formation of the task force is as a result of the destruction of large hectares of farmlands by armyworms. Statistics available at the National Disaster Management Organization indicate that in the Ashanti region alone, 6,400 hectares of cocoa plantation belonging to 4,000 farmers in the Setre Central, Edrisu Jabin, and Mampon municipality have been seriously affected. The report also states that the infestation has also been identified in 15 other districts and municipalities in the same region. In the Bonoafu region, a total of 5,000 hectares of farmlands have been affected, while 3,500 also recorded in the eastern region. Director General of NADMO, Nanaije Prempeh, noted fighting the pest requires more effort.
Government has a vision of making Ghana self-sufficient in food production through the Planting for Food and Job projects. For these projects to be successful, it is incumbent that we put in place measures to mitigate or, if possible, prevent these and other infestations in the country.
He spelled out government's long-term plan.
Because it's been an emergency situation, that's why the president has come out with that task force to solve it immediately. Then NADMO will take up from the task force.
And armyworms continue to ravage farms across Africa, including Ghana, posing a threat to food security. In the following report, agric experts prefer remedial measures on the current situation.
Over 500 acres of maize farms and 200 acres of cocoa farms in 25 cocoa growing communities have been invaded by the fall armyworms in the Ashanti region. The Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International says 9 regions have already been affected, projecting a devastating impact of up to 100%. The sequence of outbreaks began in mid-December last year in Zambia and has been spreading rapidly. Armyworms feed on many staple food crops, which could cause food shortage. They also eat pasture grass, which could impact negatively on livestock production.
It has a main preference for cereals and grasses, but when they are absent, other alternatives can also support it. It can affect the plant at any stage of growth.
It is unclear how it got to Africa and, for that matter, Ghana from the Americas, but it's linked to imported plants or migration across the Atlantic on favorable winds. Its impact could be devastating.
If it comes in when it's very young, chances are that the tassels that would then form the corps will no longer be produced because they feed into the whole of the plant and eat downwards. So that growing portion of the plant that you need will no longer be available. Again, they would also defoliate the plant. They chew on the leaves. So what you need for food production for the plant would also not be available.
In 2012-2013, the African armyworm cut Zambia's maize production by 11%. The latest outbreak could lead to losses of up to 40%, as an estimated 124,000 hectares of maize has been attacked. In Zimbabwe, 7 out of 8 maize-producing provinces have had outbreaks, and in Malawi, at least 9,000 hectares have been attacked. It is too early to say what its impact will be on the country's food production, but experts warn of dire consequences.
If it gets into the field when your crops are there, they can actually feed on the grain, bore holes through the crops, and reduce the quality of the grain you get at the end of the day, or even the quantity. So its damage can be massive. You can have 100% crop loss.
Now, the spread, as you saw in the story there, the spread of armyworm invasion across the country has hit various parts of the country, various regions. So here on the screen now shows the Ashanti region, 6,000 hectares of cocoa plantation affected by the spread of armyworm. In the Bono Ahafo region, 5,000 hectares of farmlands, while in the eastern region, 3,500 hectares of farmlands. Now, in the Ashanti region alone, this 6,000 hectares of cocoa plantation that have been affected actually belong to about 4,000 farmers in the Setre Central, Ejusu-Drabing and Mampong municipality who have been seriously affected by the spread of armyworms. We know that it's also happened in Somenya in the eastern region, where armyworms have affected particularly maize farms. And peasant farmers, many peasant farmers have actually complained that they have nothing to harvest, and it's been one of their worst seasons actually as farmers. We know Gawu has also expressed that this could affect the Planting for Food and Jobs program, and that's a major concern.
So let's stay a bit on this because of the worrying nature of it. The armyworm invasion on farms continues to spread across the country. As you saw, there are over 20 farms in the From Plains South constituency in the eastern region have been affected by the pest disease. The Member of Parliament for the area, Eric Ose, also is calling on the Plant Protection and Regulatory Services to immediately address the situation before it gets out of hand.
The From Plains South constituency is one of the country's food baskets, but farmers fear the fast spread of armyworms would affect yield. It is a major crop season in the area, but the invasion of the pests on over 20 farms is a worry to the MP.
There is a possibility of it threatening our food security, especially when, as a country, we've just launched the Planting for Food and Jobs. If we do not control, such menace, then I think that the efforts of our farmers or government will come to nothing in terms of our food production.
He said the disease on crops was noticed 2 weeks ago and called on the Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Unit of the Food and Agriculture to take immediate steps to stop the spread.
They are the people who take control of such measures, and they have ways to curb it, such as spraying. And government should be very interested in and make a move in there to try and save the situation.
Now, away from that, President Akufo-Addo has called for increase in sale of local goods at malls. Opening the Kumasi City Mall, the president regretted the retail of cheap imported goods, while the capacity of local producers remains weak and their products suffer low patronage.
President Akufo-Addo was hopeful by the end of the first year of its operation, at least 20% of the goods sold at the mall will be locally made, and the percentages increased as Ghanaian industrial production rapidly expands. He, however, noted such new enterprises have spawned the creation of jobs and investments and triggered increased local spending.
It is not right that our country continues to be a retailer of cheap imported goods, whilst the capacity of our local producers remains weak and their products suffer low patronage. It is my hope that the Kumasi City Mall will not only be a place for the sale of imported goods, but substantially also Ghanaian goods.
President Akufo-Addo affirmed his government will create the enabling environment and build a strong, powerful economy which can deliver a dignified standard of living, and urge the private sector to take advantage and invest in the numerous opportunities.
Our priority is to do all we can to give our entrepreneurs the certainty of a positive business environment, devoid of arbitrary and irrational policy initiatives, so they can do what they should do best: invest in the numerous opportunities to create jobs and prosperity.
The Supreme Court has directed counsel involved in the case seeking the abrogation of the agreements between the governments of Ghana and the United States for hosting 2 former Guantanamo Bay detainees in the country to make further submissions before a decision will be taken. The Apex Court said it has not been able to reach a decision in respect of some of the reliefs sought by the plaintiffs.
The Supreme Court has directed counsels involved in the case seeking the abrogation of the agreement between the governments of Ghana and the USA for hosting the Gitmo 2 in Ghana to make further submissions before a decision is taken. According to the Apex Court, a decision has not been reached in respect of some of the reliefs the plaintiffs are seeking, which is that the whole agreement was unconstitutional and needs to be cancelled. Counsels are expected to, among other things, make further submissions to determine whether or not Ghana can cancel an international agreement enters into which breaches the country's constitution. The court also wants counsel to look at the impact of Article 84, which borders on security. The article gives the National Security Council the power to take decisions that will safeguard the internal and external security of the country. The court also wants answers to what would happen if the matter is taken to Parliament and the House disagrees with the specialized security body. Parties have been given up to June 24 to deliver their written submission to the court and appear on June 27 for the case to be heard. 2 Ghanaian citizens, Margaret Bamfo and Henry Nana Boakye, sued the Attorney General and Minister of Justice together with the Minister of Interior, accusing the former government of illegally bringing into the country 2 former Guantanamo Bay detainees without recourse to the laws of the land.
Her Ladyship, Georgina Theodora Wood, retires on June 8 after a decade of serving as Chief Justice and head of the judiciary. A new appointment is expected to be made by the President in consultation with the Council of State and with the approval of Parliament. In the following report, Selom Amenya explores who is likely to be the next Chief Justice.
A person qualified to be the Chief Justice of Ghana must be of high moral character and have proven integrity. In the first place, he or she must have been a lawyer for at least 15 years to be eligible for appointment to the Supreme Court. Her Ladyship Georgina Theodora Wood, the first woman Chief Justice of Ghana, was appointed by former President Kufuor in 2007 and is due for retirement upon turning 70 on June 8. Two names have come up as front-runners in the race to replace her. They are Justice Victor Jones Mawulom Doche and Justice Kwesi Enin-Yeboah. Justice Enin-Yeboah was appointed to the Supreme Court on June 11, 2008. He serves on the adjudicatory chamber of FIFA's Ethics Committee. Before his appointment, Justice Enin-Yeboah had served on various judicial bodies in the Ghana Football Association GFA, including the Disciplinary Committee and the Appeals Committee. He also served on the Appeals Committee of the Confederation of African Football, CAF. Justice Victor Jones Mawulom Doche, who was called to the bar in November 1978, was elevated to the Supreme Court on June 11, 2008, having been appointed High Court Judge in June 2002. In February 2008, he was appointed Justice of the Supreme Court of the Republic of the Gambia. Many believe the President would want to balance the ethnicity scale in the leadership of the three arms of government with someone from the Volta region, since he, the President, is an Akan, the Vice President from the northern part of the country, and the Speaker, Egan Dangbe. Justice William Atuguba, the most senior justice at the bench, has been ruled out because he is also due for retirement. Will President Akufo-Addo, just like former President Kufuor, depart from choosing the most senior judge of the Supreme Court and opt for someone who combines both attributes of loyalty and competence, as was explained in the appointment of the outgoing Chief Justice? Selom Amanya, TV3, Accra.
We'll wait for that announcement. But senior high schools in the three regions in the north are still under lock due to unpaid feeding grants by the government. The understanding will we get after that release of the funds by government, over 100 million Ghana cedis. The amount is yet to hit the accounts of the schools in the three northern region, which has led to they not reopening as yet.
And it's a week after the official reopening of senior high schools across the country. However, schools in the three northern regions in the north are yet to reopen. Shaibu Wilberforce Adams is headmaster of the Tamale Senior High School.
That surely would affect teaching and learning. We were supposed to have reopened school on the 4th.
About 160 million cedis has been released by the Scholarship Secretariat to settle part of the debt, with an assurance that the rest of the 2016-2017 academic year is being processed. Though they expressed gratitude to government for paying for 2 terms, they maintained the schools will remain closed until the funds hit the school's account. But the public relations officer of the Ghana Education Service, Reverend Jonathan Betty, has assured management of the schools that the monies will hit the account latest Monday, May 15th.
It goes through the system before hitting the accounts of the various schools. I'm very sure that by Monday the money will hit the accounts of the various schools.
He sympathized with the stranded students, assuring them that it would no longer happen.
It's an unfortunate situation that some will be stranded. I am saying with authority that this is the end of this type of situation.
He has also allayed concerns that a delay in the payment of the feeding grants by the Scholarship Secretariat is likely to affect the rolling out of the free SHS policy from September this year.
If government is not ready to roll out a policy, he will not come out. When we get to September, you will see how smooth the program will go.
Students of the Ghana School of Surveying and Mapping have threatened to picket at the Flagstaff House if President Akufo-Addo does not step in to ensure the school is reopened. Meanwhile, the Lands and Natural Resource Minister, John Peter Amewu, has assured students the school will be reopened after investigations into the vandalism caused by students is concluded. The sector minister ordered its closure following agitations over school land.
May 2, some students of the Ghana School of Surveying and Mapping School went on a rampage following claims that the school's land has been sold for the construction of a shopping mall. The students allegedly destroyed property belonging to the contractor working on the land as well as that of the Lands Commission. This has compelled the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, to order the closure of the school.
As a sector minister, I totally condemn the students' behavior and actions and accordingly authorize that the Ghana School of Survey and Mapping be closed down indefinitely with an immediate effect.
He also directed the students to vacate the school premises and the hostel facilities with immediate effect. Reacting to the closure, the president of the Students' Representative Council, SRC, Bright Josephine Sia, said the students would protest if the decision is not reversed. They demand an immediate intervention from the presidency.
To us, we believe it is of no justification for you to go to that mark of closing the school down. We wanted to follow the normal procedure. We have done that, and it looks as if it's not yielding any results. We would want to mass up and march to Flagstaff House, to the first gentleman of the land, to let him know the concerns and the problems that are confronting the ordinary students on this campus.
Meanwhile, the minister has indicated the school will be reopened after investigations into the incident are completed.
You're watching News 360, still to come in the bulletin. Inflation for April up to 13% from 12.8% in March.
We're bringing some news on the international front where a fight against Al-Shabaab is on, according to the Somali government.
We'll bring you those stories here on News 360 and more shortly. Stay with us. It's News 360 and it's time for business. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. Some bad news for inflation figures. The year-on-year inflation rates for April stood at 13.0%, up by 0.2 percentage points from the 12.8% recorded in March. Not that bad though. The monthly change rate for April was 1.6% compared to the 1.3% recorded for March.
The Consumer Price Index (CPI) measures the change over time in the general price level of goods and services that households acquire for consumption. The CPI recorded an inflation rate of 13.0% for April. This means that the change in general price level was 13% over the one-year period from April 2016 to April 2017. The marginal increase in inflation follows a 3-month continual drop since the beginning of the year, which settled at 12.8% in March, making it the lowest since December 2013. Acting government statistician Banwadie attributed a rise in the CPI to the increases in transport fares during the month under review.
The rise in the inflation rate for the transport group, it went up by 9.6 percentage points. But we have communications also inching up slightly by 0.1 percentage points, and miscellaneous goods and services also going up by a 0.1 percentage point. So these three, but mainly transport, accounted for the rise in the inflation rate.
The food and non-alcoholic beverages group recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 6.7%, a 0.6 percentage point higher than the rate recorded in March. The non-food group recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 16.3% in April compared to the 15.6% recorded for March.
Now, there is ongoing discussions on a possible extension of the IMF deal by end of June this year. TV3 sources say government's decision on a possible extension of the deal will decide whether to end the program in April 2018 or perhaps extend to December 2018. Now, even though some government officials have indicated of a likelihood of an extension, the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has maintained that the government is committed to ending the deal in April 2018. You would remember that Ghana in 2015 signed on to a $918 million extended credit facility program with the IMF. Now, Ghana has so far received a total of about $464.6 million as disbursements from the IMF. The latest was on September 28, 2016. Let's head to the banking sector. And EcoBank Ghana recorded a total revenue of 1.2 billion cedis for the 2016 financial year, representing an increase of 18% over the previous year. At the bank's annual general meeting in Accra, a dividend of 82 pesos per share was announced to shareholders. The performance of EcoBank was largely driven by gains from derecognition of financial assets relating to the oil sector. This was witnessed despite the tough operating environment in the year under review. The net interest income increased by 5% from 682 million cedis to 719 million cedis, while the non-performing loan ratio was 15.87%. The bank also had an impressive cost-to-income ratio at 46.94%. A positive liquidity gap was also maintained, with a portfolio of instruments well diversified in currency and other investments to provide optimum liquidity. Group Chairman of EcoBank Ghana, Terence Ronald Darko, expressed confidence in a more viable year for investors.
The challenges with the power sector subsided significantly, and the Ghana cedi stabilized relative to the previous year. GDP growth is estimated at 3.6% for 2016 and is expected to pick up significantly to 6.3% in 2017. Our capital adequacy ratio of 15.29% maintains a healthy markup on the regulatory requirement of 10% and is a result of the high standards of capital management we have set for ourselves.
EcoBank's Research Middle Africa report for 2017 projects economic growth in Ghana to pick up significantly. And quickly, let's wrap up on the currencies. Tonight, moving to the Forex to see exactly how trading has been for the day. Well, the cedi remains stable against its major trading currencies. Not too much activity there on the interbank markets. The cedi is still buying at 4 Ghana cedis 19 pesos, and it will be sold to you at 4 Ghana cedis 20 pesos. For the cedi to that of the Great British Pound, it will be bought at 5 Ghana cedis 42 pesos, and you would get it at a selling price of 5 Ghana cedis 43 pesos. And that to the euro is 4 Ghana cedis 55 pesos, and for the selling, how much it will be sold to you at 4 Ghana cedis 56 pesos. So we will see how that goes out, but that will do for business tonight. My name is Nanikia Mensah, but let's join Alfred and Natalie with more.
Thank you, Nanikia. Let's go. But a Greek minister will justify a 16 million cedis budget before cabinet on Thursday to fight the invasion of armyworms in some parts of the country. The task force would supervise mass spraying of some 1,300 affected lands this weekend.
A Greek state of emergency has been declared.
We have prepared a budget of 16 million Ghana cedis, half of which is to go into the purchase of the chemicals required to spray for the control and annihilation of the outbreak of the worm. We want to remove this permanently.
The Minister of Food and Agriculture says it takes the issue seriously.
Yesterday, I called for the suppliers, the chemical suppliers who are holding stocks of the chemical required, and assured them that they should release the chemicals to us for the immediate distribution, subject to our payment. They have gladly agreed to that. And we are very grateful to the agrochemical suppliers who also see the urgency of this matter and are not waiting for settlement of their invoices before releasing. We are sure that by the weekend, the spraying will start in earnest.
Together with the farmers, the task force is also receiving support from the development partners to combat the infestation. But as the mass spraying begins, concerns have emerged about farmers who have already lost their produce.
The consequences of it in terms of compensation, we have to look at it. So we'll get to it. The immediate financial requirements are the budget that has been presented by the relevant directorate, that's the PPRSD, so that the Ministry of Finance can release this money, 16 million to us, to be able to accomplish the assignment. But as I said, as a ministry, we are not waiting for that.
The Northern Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party has unreservedly retracted and apologized to the Upper East Regional Minister Roxin Bukari, whom he accused of masterminding the murder of Adams Mahama. Daniel Bugri Nabu, in a letter written to lawyer for the minister, Samson Ladi Ayeni, said his comments made on Accra-based radio station, which have since gained traction in the media, were regrettable and unfortunate. He had 48 hours to retract and apologize for same after an ultimatum was issued by Ladi Ayenini on behalf of Roxin Bukari, and he did not fail to apologize to the minister and his family for the harm and embarrassment his allegation may have caused. The issue started on May 8, 2017, after he alleged that the gender minister, Otiko Afisa Jaba, was part of the acid attack and murder of Upper East Regional Chairman of the MPP, Adams Mahama, in 2016. Even though the matter is still pending in court, with suspects being prosecuted, Nabu suggested he had information linking both the Upper East Regional Minister and the Gender Minister to the murder. His accusation was a rebuttal to claim by Otiko Jaba that he had taken monies, goats, cows from party members with a promise to offer appointments in the school feeding program.
Let's go on to some of the stories. The Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Ignatius Bafwewa, has given 2 months to a committee set up by him to retrieve all lands belonging to the ministry located at Batuna in Accra. The lands which were acquired by the ministry 40 years ago to train workers in productivity have now been encroached upon by squatters and other private developers.
The lands, which belongs to the Management and Productivity Institute (MDPI), was for a hostel and other allied offices for training. It has, however, been taken over by some private developers. Dissatisfied about the development, the Employment and Labour Relations Minister Ignatius Bafwewa tasked the committee he set up to come up with a report in 2 months on how the lands would be repossessed by the ministry.
There can't be so many ways of looking at it, and that is why I believe that this eminent group can be able to come out with options that will be workable and which will also be acceptable to all stakeholders.
The sector minister, acknowledging the daunting task by the committee, implored residents to cooperate.
Our interest is not necessary to punish them or to let them lose their properties. But of course, you can't also appropriate something which is not yours to yourself without also going through the normal laid out regulations.
In other stories this evening, some drivers and traders at Tudu in Accra are threatening blocking the road around the Aflao station for business activities if the damage caused in the road is not repaired. The main Tudu road has been dug out on Saturday, April 29, ostensibly to fix a damaged sewage line, but has been left unattended to.
The utility service work was close to the main Tudu traffic light. The concerned drivers and traders say the exercise began in the morning on Saturday, April 29, without prior notice. According to them, heavy machines moved to the area unannounced and began cutting asphalt road, leading to heavy traffic build-up. The traders say their enquiries revealed the workers were tracing a damaged underground sewage line. They claimed the workers left the scene in the afternoon without any proper cordoning of the dug-out area and have since not returned. The concerned traders fear possible accident and injury to unsuspecting commuters and want action taken. The Motor Traffic and Transport Department MTTD personnel also complained the mess had compounded the traffic situation in that part of the Central Business District and want the work completed. It was not clear which agency is responsible for the work and why they are yet to return to the site.
Just watching News 360 is live from our news hub here at Addis-Ababa in Ghana. We're also live on 3news.com. We're live on GhanaWeb.com all across the world. Also on Facebook.com/news on TV3. We'll be back shortly with some more stories to stay.